Aye. Hey guys, this one's going to be a bit of a short one because I have to go to work tomorrow. And it's already getting kind of late. So we're only going to do 15 minutes for this one, but I promise tomorrow I'll do a full length one. So, yeah, that just tied you over. Just tied you over till then.
Are we expecting more trouble from the alicorns?
Always.
I asked hesitantly. I seemed to remember a warning about alicorns in the Canterlot ruins.
Yeah.
I thought we were on a mission from the goddess. Surely they'd let us pass. Slipping the cigarette packs into his saddlebags, Calamity frowned with a look of grim discomfort. Well, let's just say we ain't taking any chances. The storm from the night before had given way to a light drizzle as Calamity wove the sky bandit between the dark, skeletal husks that had once been Manhattan skyscrapers. We were headed to Buckling Cross in a part of the city that I had not seen yet. Velvet Remedy stirred, coming out of the Fluttershy orb for what was the second time since we left Stable 29 this morning.
God damn!
I looked away, not meeting the gaze coming from Steelhoof's helmet. Every pony deserved their own little retreats. There's something I just don't understand, Velvet Remedy admitted, looking to me as she put the memory orb away. Her voice was still raspy, but not as bad as it was a few hours ago. I wasn't in the mood for conversation. At my insistence, I had been led around to all the outcasts who had been hurt when the security systems activated. I apologized to each one. Most were polite. Some even thanked me for dealing with Cottage and possibly revealing 2 locations for backup water talismans to boot. Only one of them snapped at me over it. More should have.
Fucking guilt complex.
You said that Red Eye talked about controlling the sun, the moon, and the weather. But not even the goddess Celestia was able to control the weather across all of Equestria. Does he really expect that mimicking...
That's debatable since she clearly installed a bureaucracy for it. I mean, the bureaucracy of weather control could be seen as her being in charge of it, right? Right?
what Trixie has become will make him more powerful than Celestia?
I shrugged, not feeling like speaking. And honestly, I really had no idea. Velvet Remedy shook her head.
For that matter, why focus on the sun and the moon? Either Celestia and Luna are up there somewhere, guiding them like they always have.
Velvet glanced towards Calamity, her eyes meeting with his as he looked back over his shoulder at the conversation.
Or Calamity is right. The goddesses are simply dead, and the sun and the moon are just doing fine on their own.
See, that's interesting. If they're still working as they can, like, what's that mean for Celestia and Luna? We got some fake god queens hanging out? Also, I prefer the interpretation that the world of Equestria is actually a plane. I might have spoke about this once if this came up before, but just to reiterate, if I have, for any new boys or people who forgot, basically a plane is an infinite reality of, land. It's like D&D or something, just infinite land in all directions. You still have the sky, but if you kept digging down and down, you'd just get more dirt, and if you went up and up, you never actually leave atmosphere because there's no atmosphere to leave. It's just all land. Just one universe of a whole planet kind of deal. It's a little complicated than that, but it's also more simple than that. Planes are fucking weird. But the weirdest thing about planes to me has always been the sun and moon. So planes, plane isn't a planet, it's a universe. So there's no Earth to orbit around the sun. The entire universe is that land and are the land and oceans and stuff. So what the fuck is the sky? What are the stars? What's the sun? What's the moon? See, they can't. Like that, okay. In reality, Earth is a planet that orbits around the sun, and the sun's a giant ball of gas. But a plane, the entire universe is that. It's not even a planet, because planet is for celestial body. So the entire universe is that. It's not even a continent, because there can be multiple continents. In fact, there will be an infinite number of continents, just like there will be an infinite number of oceans. I'll just use world, even though that also conjures a single planet. The entire universe is that world. And there's no space. There's no, not really other planets. So what the fuck is the moon? It can't be made out of other rocks, because where's it go when it sets? The horizon literally goes on forever. If it did set down, it would eventually crash into the planet. Because there's no other space for the moon to move around. So what the fuck is it? What's the sun? I mean, it's not a planet orbiting around the sun, so the sun would have to orbit around the plane, but the plane is flat and goes on infinitely, so it would crash into it. Like, so I've always theorized that they're not actually a sun and moon. They're like metaphorical representations that because of the magic, give out the necessary life. Things like the moon isn't an actual body of rocks, but it still controls the ocean tides. While the sun gives out heat and light, but it's not a ball of fire, it's some magical metaphorical thing. That's kind of what I feel the Equestrian one is. Because like I said, I kind of like the idea of Equestria as a planar world. So the sun and moon aren't as we know them. They would have to be magical, metaphorical bodies that still do the stuff they're supposed to do, like giving off heat and light for the sun and controlling the ocean tides for the moon, but you know, they're not as large, and they may not even really be there, you know? They may not even exist up there. And I think that works best for Equestria because we've seen, like, the Tyric episode, where Twilight was trying to control the sun, and how it went all wiggly wobbly all over the place. If that was a real sun, like we know it, that would have fucked everything. Like the wibbly wobbliness and the rapid turning of the planet, if the planet even turns, and like all that shit. No, it can't be a sun as we know it. It cannot be a giant ball of fire. It has to be something else. Which is why I think the planar option is best, because it's not an actual giant ball of fire, it's a magical representation of that. And is thus probably much, much smaller and easier to move. And that's my fucking idea on that.
Which would mean the goddesses were never really needed in the first place.
Sure, being their guide would be a status symbol,
Velvet said.
but Red-Eye seems practical. Why turn himself into something like her to do something that doesn't need to be done?
Calamity veered away from the blackened husk of a building as dozens of pigeons burst out. I slipped off my bench as the passenger wagon tilted, thumping my right hind leg hard enough to bring tears to my eyes.
Ow.
Firelight leapt from Velvet's side, soaring out of one of the windows into the open air and giving chase. Blinking, I considered crawling back to the bench. The bench was far more comfortable, but laying on it risked another spill. I decided to just stay on the floor.
Yeah, probably better.
Is it not obvious?
Zenith said.
He wishes to be worshipped like a god. How better to become one than to take on the role of your goddesses?
I shook my head.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like
No,
him.
I don't think that's it.
Red-Eye had talked as if he was removing himself from the equation.
Yeah! Like, he really did, like, credit to this guy, he really did make it sound like Red-Eye was like, I'm fucking done with this shit, you can have it.
Like doing this was akin to dying. He was many things, but not a megalomaniac.
Surprisingly.
Y'all are making an assumption that just ain't so, Calamity called back. We all turned towards him.
And what would that assumption be?
Velvet asked in a voice that would have been a purr if not for the after effects of the gas. Y'all talk like the sun and the moon are doing what they're supposed to, Calamity replied, swooping beneath a crumbling and dangerously canted walkway that stretched between two tilting towers. Several bloodwings were resting underneath. Way I heard it, Celestia'd raise up the sun at the beginning of the day, then lower it at night.
Well, yeah, because that would be how you define your days. If she raises the sun, oh, that's the day starting. And when she sets the sun, that's the day ending. I mean, your whole... like, for all we know, it could be a 12-hour day cycle where the sun's up for 6 hours and the moon's up for 6 hours. Like, your whole concept could be fucked. Your whole concept of day and night could be fucked. You don't know.
Bring out the moon and then put it away at dawn.
Well, again, because, like, when she puts the moon away and the sun comes up, that would be your idea of dawn. You don't know if that's what dawn's actually supposed to be at. Well, I mean, it would be because they were controlling it. Or were they controlling it? Who the fuck knows?
That was supposed to be the order of things, right?
If they say so, I mean, it doesn't have to be. You could work on a midnight to noon basis where you get up at midnight and go to sleep at noon. I mean, fuck.
Well, yes.
Velvet Remedy replied.
Of course, but clearly that's still happening. It was night before, and it's day now, and it will be night again. Just like clockwork.
Oh, it's happening, but it ain't nothing like clockwork. I can't
Granted, even under all this thick cloud cover, enough sunlight gets through that it's only overcast. And I love overcast, but you can still see just fine. And honestly, because of my sensitive eyes, I can actually see better when it's overcast than when it's a clear day. Fuck clear days. It hurts my eyes. But because you can still see and the sunlight still pierces the clouds enough to see, you can at least judge time. Now, if you get a clock out and you judge time,
tell you how many times when I was growing up that I saw the sun and the moon in the sky at the same time.
that's not different either. I see that shit outside, especially during the winter months. Like, I can look over one side, oh, hey, there's the moon. I look over the other, ah, God, the sun. It's in my eyes. Like, oh, fuck you, Calamity. Granted, Calamity doesn't know better because this is like 200 years later and who knows how the fuck this thing works.
Velvet and Zenith gasped. I reeled. The very notion was like something out of a doomsday prophecy.
Okay, I gotta remember, these ponies work on very... Oh, fuck. Like, again, like, fucking today, I looked out my window in my room, I saw the moon. It wasn't just coming over the edge, it was, like, up in the sky. But the sun was still up, too. Like, not all the way up, but it was enough. I mean, I assume he means that they're relatively close in the sky. But then you also have things like solar eclipses, which are a natural phenomenon. And granted, he could just not know better. I mean, who knows what the education system's like in this world? It's probably terrible. It's probably terrible.
The sun and the moon never shared the sky. It was unnatural.
Why?
Blasphemous.
Why?
Usually it was in the morning. Like they couldn't decide what was supposed to be out right then. They've gone wild, I reckon. Just like the weather.
That implies they have consciousness. And I like that idea. I actually kind of like that idea. It's weird. In a way I think MLP would roll with. Okay. Like, Lil Pip, I gotta ask, what is your beliefs? What are your beliefs? Because, like, you go on how, oh, that's blasphemous, or that's not, like, you go on about the goddess, or how the sun, the moon, and the sky are blasphemous, which I don't actually understand because Celestia and Luna were sisters. So you would think that by that regard, like, oh, it's kind of adorable. It would actually probably be really cool to see the sun, the moon, in the sky like that. Oh, yeah, okay, sun, moon like that. Because, like, I only see it during evenings or really early mornings. Like, really fucking early mornings. But, I just want to know what your beliefs are like, Lil Pip. Because, like, you got a lot of weird and contradictory beliefs that I kind of want to know, like, why is that blasphemous?
Calamity began a graceful turn.
Especially when you consider how their actual religious mythology would have it Celestia and Luna are sisters on a friend, and they're friendly. They're not like Thor and Loki who are enemies. Or Amaterasu and, what is it, Shoshonu? Like, oh. What the like, why is that blasphemous? They're sisters who like each other. Okay, it's getting late. I gotta get up in the morning for work. Oh, we'll continue this tomorrow.